Microphones fight me. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. I'm your host today, Laura Lalaki, international real estate agent, vocalist, and today we really do have a pretty good conversation to talk about because we're getting real. We're getting real in these financial streets with what we're going to talk about today. A record 9.3 million Americans are working 2 full-time jobs just to survive, not to get ahead, not to build wealth, not to save up for a vacation, not to save up for their 401k, just to keep the lights on. Now, that means people are working 60, 70, and sometimes 80 hours a week and still feeling behind. Rent is high, groceries are high, everything is high. And for a lot of Black families, there's no safety net. So today we're breaking this down. Why are so many people stretched thin? Is this just inflation or is it a systematic problem? And most important, what can we do to actually do something about it? So we're going to get into this conversation today. I have a panel of my beautiful queens here on Friday, but before I introduce them, it's Friday. It's Friday. What do we do on Friday? We do the blackout.
Right.
In Black History Month. Blackout. Put hashtag blackout in the conversation if you are still making sure that you are not shopping where your Black dollars don't seem to matter. We would love for you to continue with this train. It's been over a year when we're doing it, and I'm still doing it. So we would love for you to continue to support and put that money back into our communities. So we're going to go ahead and get into this conversation. I've got my queens. I've got Yolanda, insurance broker to the stars. I have Micah, AI expert and digital marketer. We have Minister Connie. We haven't had Minister Connie in a long time. Hello, Minister Connie, our entrepreneur. And then, of course, y'all have little old me, Laura Lalaki, vocalist, international real estate agent. Ladies, when you heard this number, 9.3 million, what was your reaction? I would love to hear from all of y'all. So I'm going to start with you, Yolanda. What was your thought on that? 9.3 million Americans?
God dang. That was my first thought. I'm like, yo, that is a lot of freaking people.
Mm-hmm.
And another thought, I really think they are up to something. AI is here. They are trying to cripple people. Mm-hmm. They are trying to change the system. They are trying to change the format. And this is just the beginning. So brace yourselves, people. There's some things I would like to say throughout this broadcast. So brace yourselves, people.
Brace yourselves, people. Micah, what is your thoughts? 9.3 million. That ain't nothing to sneeze at.
It isn't. However, I wasn't surprised. With me having lived in both Los Angeles and then also the Midwest, I saw how the pricing changed in the Midwest as far as like the cost of living, and yet the minimum wage in those areas is still so low. So I'm absolutely not surprised. Wages haven't gone up to meet, what things cost.
And they seem to be going up faster and faster as we speak. What happened to the price of eggs? Everybody kept talking about going down. Y'all, it's cheaper to buy chickens. And I don't even like chickens because I grew up with chickens and I don't want chickens. But if I have to get chickens, I will get the package, okay? Mr. Connie, what was your thoughts about 9.3 million people having to take second jobs?
Yeah, I believe it because a lot of my workers, they have second jobs, or a business that they're doing on the side. So that number did not surprise me at all.
I don't think any of us, especially in our communities, found that to be a very surprising number. Matter of fact, y'all, I don't think growing up, I didn't know too many people in my community who didn't have 2 types of jobs. It's not changed. I'm getting ready to be 56 on Monday. That has not changed in my lifetime. So listen, we have a lot of our regulars here and someone we haven't seen in a long time. We have Walterine here. Hi, Mama Walterine. And then we have Jay Keller James from Philadelphia, PA, and Big Mac. Where you been, morning, Big Mac. We miss you
Big
so
Mac.
much. We are so glad to have you back. And of course, we got Dr. Vibe, who is always supporting us ladies here. And we appreciate every last one of you. Now, listen, as we were saying, we are definitely talking about people having to take second jobs. You know, we're talking 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Ladies, let me tell you something. Where is the quality of life in that? You know, I'd like to know where the quality of life is that. If you are working, 60, 70, 80 hours, where is your rest? Where is your quality of life? Where is your time to relax? Where is your time to go to church if you go to church? Where is the time that you play with your kids? Where is the time that you get to go to sports with your kids? Where is the time that you have girlfriend time? That is really, really hard. It breaks my heart to know that quality of life is lessening and more of money just to survive is becoming the mainstay of Americans. Now, I will say this, with all my travels and especially me spending time in Portugal, they don't play around with that, y'all. They do not play around with that. They are family oriented. At 1:00, I call it nap time, y'all. 1:00, the alarms in all the cities go off. They done. They go home for 2 hours for lunch and family time, come back at about 3, work till about 6:30, go home, and then have late dinners to spend time with their family. They're not working 2 and 3 jobs. But listen, I want to check out a video before we move into this topic a little bit more, because this is pretty heavy and it's something that we do need to address, especially within our communities. So let's check out this video and get back into the conversation.
Multiple jobs in the U.S. is at an all-time high of 9.3 million, and I don't think this is by choice. Well, for some people it may be. Some people got goals, they got a strategy and a plan to make as much money as fast as possible to do X, Y, and Z. But I think, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, I think a lot of people are working multiple jobs just to maintain. Like, this is just to survive. And see, the older people, they give us a lot of flack, the younger generation, but this is what they don't understand, bro. They worked at a convenience store job with just one person providing for the whole entire family. You try that today and see where you end up at. I don't want to say what I want to say because I don't want to, come off as harsh or rude or disrespectful, but that ain't happening in today's economy, bro. Everything is high. Rent high, food high, gas high, everything is high. And the wages are basically the same or maybe a little bit more. If you are one of the ones working multiple jobs, let me know in the comments below. Are you doing it by option just because you want to, or are you doing it because you have to?
Wow.
So isn't that crazy? So Yolanda, he's saying this is not really for ambition or it's purely survival. What are your thoughts on that? It's really hard to think that people have to work this hard just to pay the light bill.
Yeah. My thoughts on it is it's almost like history is repeating itself, because there was a time and point in history where people, in my generation, because I'm Generation X, where we were working 2 jobs too, just to sometimes make ends meet. But when I think about it, I worked 2 jobs when I was younger. And the second job at one point was just to save money, not to make ends meet, because my first job kind of sustained me. The rent was reasonable and I was able to eat. Hey, you can get 4 pieces and French fries for $2.99 back in the day. All right. Now that's $20 at the local chicken shack. So everything has increased. These babies today just can't sustain themselves. And it is taking away their quality of life. You was talking about how in Portugal, 2-hour lunch, girl, that's somebody's dream over here. That's a dream. That's a dream for me. And I'm an entrepreneur. Okay. But they don't have a quality of life. They don't. And also what I wanted to say, Lala, a lot of those kids that are working those 2 jobs, I bet you they don't have no family. There's no way in hell you can raise a family and have 2 jobs. There's no way in hell. That's why a lot of people are not having children. And a lot of people don't have families, anymore.
And coming up in the 80s, they called us latchkey kids because our parents, would work late and stuff. Well, still, latchkey or not, my parent was still home by 5:30, the latest. You're talking in this situation where a parent goes to one job and then probably gets to come home and say, hi, baby, if they're lucky enough to do that, and then go off to another job. But Micah, why do you think that wages are just not keeping up with expenses? Because we've been in this situation a very long time.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to.
Mm.
I mean, straight up, like business is hard and business is expensive. Business owners go through a lot just to make sure that you can show up, get a predictable wage, and follow a set of instructions. There's so much that goes, there's so much that goes into that. And a lot of these people, they opened up, businesses so that they could take care of their lives and their families. And the truth of the matter is you come in and work for anybody, it's a privilege because somebody's already done 10 other jobs ahead of you just so that you could go ahead and have the one, right? So to be honest with you, it's not always the business owner's responsibility. Do we get super mad at billionaires for having an excess amount of wealth? Yes, we do, but all of us aren't working for billionaires. A lot of us are working for small businesses that are trying to make sure that they send their kids to private school and they don't lose their mortgages and things like that,
That's true. That's true. I will tap into a little bit of history here. There was a new startup company, I guess around 7 years ago that I worked for, and they saw that I was really big into live streaming and I was pretty big on Periscope, and they tapped me to come and be their community expert and their community manager. And they were a Chinese company. And I thought, wow, this is up my lane. I absolutely love it. Why not? Y'all, I was working well over 80 hours a week, dealing with American time and the American people who were streaming, and then dealing with the Chinese time and having to be up to answer their questions. There was no quality of life. I was miserable, so much so that my husband was like, that ain't worth it. You need to step up off that because ain't no amount of money good enough where you're not singing and having the quality of life that you need, and you're stressed about other people coming and flashing a little boob and going, you can't do that. It's like, I can't, that was just too very stressful for me. And so I know for a fact these 80-hour jobs do not allow for any kind of enjoyment of life. So Minister Connie, you said a lot of people that work for you as well have 2 jobs. What do you hear the most about the most expenses that are hurting people right now?
Utilities. With the cold weather, utilities. I tell you what, myself, I was like, whoa, almost $1,000 just paying your light, gas, cable, all those utilities, water, sewage. It's very, very expensive. Right there is just the utilities to keep you comfortable in your home. But getting back to employers, and that has to take, we're the biggest hire of employees in the country, is small businesses. And therefore we have to pay FICA, unemployment. Unemployment is 10% right on the top, no matter if you have they call it compensation of people not filing, it's still 10%. We have liability insurance. We have, uh, I said workers' comp, liability insurance, FICA, all that. So, and then we have to pay our employees and then benefits. So it costs a lot to bring on an employee. When they look at their paycheck, they don't see all the other things that we have to pay to keep them on. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to mention that it's a lot.
It's twofold. It is. I mean, a
Yeah,
lot of
it
times we do
is.
turn around and blame the employers, but employers also have a lot of expenses as well, especially
Right.
when they're smaller companies. You're not talking about, people tend to think 9 to 5, they think corporate. No, there is a lot of small business
Small
out here
business
just
that's
trying to make
carrying.
it. But listen,
Yes.
Big Mac said, I've been working 2 jobs, right? And Jay Keller said, everything I did was centered around work. Walterine said there's no balance to life in working that many hours. And Incog said this is exactly why people are fighting so hard for remote work, so they can secretly work 2 or 3 jobs simultaneously. Y'all, there are people doing that.
Yeah.
When they work at home, they are working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
2 computers, 2 jobs.
Yes.
And according to what their workload is, they are managing. And there's been a lot of really good articles about people doing that. Debra says, I've worked 2 jobs on different occasions. Incog says, I've seen people work 2 remote jobs at the height of the pandemic and paid off a 6-figure student loan debt in 1 year. And then, you know, does that person get trapped to the money, or do they want to let it out? Debra also said it's so sad that teens can't even work grocery jobs because adults need them more. And Dr. Vibe actually has a really good question. Ladies, in your opinion, what's the benefits and the costs of 2 jobs? I'm going to start with you on that, Yolanda. What is the benefits and the costs? And we're not necessarily talking about money-wise of working 2 jobs.
Let me tell you something. More valuable than anything on this earth is your time. Your time. You're costing your beautiful, precious time. Okay, that's what it costs. Before you look up, you'll be 10 years older, and all you would have done is worked. Okay, not poured into anything, not built anything, just worked. So yeah, that's what it costs. So and the benefits, I really don't think there's a benefit, because there's no benefit to your time. Your time is everything. Time is precious. Bottom line,
I can't get those hours that I work double shifts like that back.
You can't.
And when I think about the times that I was most stressed out, it was that time. Out of all of my work career, it was that time.
Yeah.
Because when I put in work for a job, just like when I'm working for myself in my real estate business and my digital business, when I'm singing, I'm giving it my all.
Correct.
And so when I'm giving my all like that for 80 hours a week, I have nothing for me. I can't even watch Netflix.
That's
because I'm so tired, right?
Tired. Yeah.
So tired. Time is everything. It really
why
is.
I hire people to do other things for me in my household. If I don't like cleaning the house, okay? I work like 40, 50 hours a week. I don't like cleaning the house. Got a maid, all right? So sometimes if I don't want to cook, get meal prep. So there's a lot of things that I do to alleviate some of the chores I have to do on a personal level, so that I have more time to do what I want to do. Bottom line. And there's nothing wrong with that. Your time is everything.
It really is. Micah, I'm going to ask you that same question. You know, what is the benefits? What is the costs of working that many hours? But I'm going to put a little twist on you, Micah. You work for yourself pretty much in the digital field. You teach. You're an expert on that. A lot of your business is online. You know, when you're working for yourself like that, are you able to shut off? Or what's the benefits? What's the cost of that?
The benefit for me was definitely been more time freedom, right? And also the opportunity to actually create multiple streams of income. Straight up. If something wasn't working in one area, I knew I could fall back in another area. And so even for people that are employed by somebody, that's part of one of the benefits too, because it's the truth of the matter is that even out here, if you have one job and anything happens, right, and you end up getting fired, of course, not only are you not able to cover your bills, but then it's not just not being able to cover your bills that are the problem. You can easily end up in a legal mess, right? And the truth of the matter is like once an eviction hits your record out here, and especially if you're Black, right, it just compounds issues beyond repair. And this is just how easy it is for people to just kind of end up on the street in Skid Row. So having a second job for a lot of people is more of an insurance policy, and it's a necessary one, especially in these times.
Especially, and also I think one thing that we also need to drag into this conversation, but Minister Connie, I'm going to ask you the same question next. You know, what is the cost and benefits to you? But let's not forget that sometimes where we live, that does make a huge difference. Doing 2 jobs in Louisville, Kentucky looks a lot different than what it looks like in Los Angeles, California. And sometimes, when you got the cost of living, we have to take that into account too. But Minister Connie, what do you think the benefits and the costs are when you're working that many hours in your life?
It takes away a lot of time you cannot buy. So that's very, very precious. But location, it's all where you live. I could not live, I'm telling you, I could not live in California. It's like everybody got 3 4 jobs up there. And I was telling my niece that lives in California, I don't see how you do it. Some of the houses that was like, she said, that's $1 million house. I couldn't believe it. $1 million looks like a regular house here that will cost maybe about 70 or $80,000. I think that some things that we need to do is just make sure that we allot our time management. Because when I get up in the morning, I don't like to rush. I like to have my time. By me being self-employed, I can spend some time, more time doing things. So I don't have a housekeeper like Yolanda, but I used to when I had to be more demands of being at the office. But you could buy time, you can have meal prep by having these different companies bring your meal. So there's different things like that if you can afford it. But what you do is get up in the morning, do a little bit of things in the morning. I get up and have my time with the Lord, praying and everything. I get some things done in my home. And then I set my day of what I need to do. That's important. So, and I try to be home by 6 o'clock, and so I can relax and have family time. So
Yes.
time management is very, very important, but it is very hard. I was a single mother for many years, and I know that one time when I used to run my one business, I would go to a job and work. My son that was 16, he was doing all kind of crazy stuff where I had to quit both of them and just sit at home with him to straighten out his life because it was affecting my life. So I
Right.
do know kids go wild when there's no attendance of a parent around. They really do.
Exactly. So you got that 80 hours and you got these kids
Yep.
taking care of themselves, right? And I'd say
Yes.
time management is very important. And Minister Connie, I have to tell you, I am just now really getting back into my time management where the morning is I set my morning intentions. I don't even touch the phone
Mhm. Mhm.
anymore until at least 2 hours after I've prayed, I've done what I need to
Mhm.
do, I've moved my body, I've written in my
Yep.
journals, I've done what I needed to do. And when I don't do that, that's when things go off the rail. But let's
Right.
check out this video and then we'll get back into this conversation.
I'm gonna be all the way honest, man. If you really want to get ahead of the game, man, I just be sitting down thinking to myself, like, life ain't as hard as people try to make it. Like, if you really want to get ahead Monday through Friday, man, you need to be working 80 hours a week. That's 2 paychecks. If you get 2 paychecks every week and you do that for like 6 months to a year, man, you'll be up. You'll be double up at the end of the year. See, one thing I learned, man, is you gotta push past all that mental. You gotta push past that mental fortitude if you really want to get ahead of the game. Cause like, I know a lot of people gonna think I'm crazy because working 2 jobs sound crazy, but man, if you work 2 jobs for like, if you work 2 jobs for like 3 months, let alone 6 months or a year, man, you gonna have to miss out on clubbing and kicking it with friends 24/7. There's a lot of stuff you just gonna have to miss out on. But I guarantee when you come out of that 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 months, I guarantee you're gonna be feeling good about yourself when you see how that money looking. And work on your credit while you're doing it too. You're gonna be surprised to see how your account really looks. I'm here to tell you that right now.
Okay. I see his point, ladies. If you are trying to, there's two different things that I'm seeing in this. If you're trying to get ahead for something that you want better in life, okay, and I understand what he said. Also, work on your credit during that, even if you're doing 2 or 3 months, you're working toward a goal.
A
He
goal.
is not talking about just trying to make ends meet and buying breakfast for your family. All right. So, Yolanda, how does this working 2 jobs affect our mental health? Now, especially in context of what that video was, because this is not exactly what we're talking about. He, to me, sounds like he's working toward a goal, getting ahead. But we
Beautiful.
talk about eating.
Right. So, okay. And again, one thing I like that we mentioned is where do we live? Okay, because someone who lives in LA, of course, is it's going to be way different than someone who lives, like you said, in Kentucky. All right, that's number one. Number two, I kind of do agree with his point though, Lala, as far as if you do have a set goal and you're young and you don't have the experience for of life and everything, and you know that you have to exchange your time for money, the best thing to do is to work two jobs for a short period of time so that you can reach that goal. I did it when I was younger, and I think that only people in there that are young in their 20s should do that. Okay, you work hard in your 20s, all right, get that money up so that in the 30s you can invest, in your 40s you can kind of sit back, and then in your 50s you can decide whether or not you want to work or not. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so just work hard. I agree with him. I agree with him. So
I think there's a time and a place for that.
yeah,
And but it's not for the long term.
it
Um,
shouldn't be for the long term. That's the thing.
right.
It should be for a short period of time so you can stack your cash. There are so many people on YouTube right now, Lala. They are living in their cars, and the main purpose is so that they don't have to pay rent. They can save up money so they can buy a house outright and don't have to have that type of debt. I agree with that. I know it sounds kind of crazy to some people, but that's something I would do. Yeah, I would live in my car for
Oh,
a year,
sacrifices, yes.
my
Yes,
cash.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that
yes.
I can have a goal, so I can complete a goal. I'm all for that.
It
I'm
may
all
not be
for
for everyone, but
it.
I never forget when we bought our home. I wasn't in real estate. I was working a secretarial job.
Mhm.
And, one of our blessed ways, thank goodness, was to be able to write songs for other people. So I would come home right after, work, and we would work on those songs. And baby, that paid for the down payment of that
Okay.
house.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, but that was a short term. We got to
Right.
enjoy that. Right.
Yeah.
Micah, I do want to ask you this because we are talking about, short term, younger people, having so much harder things. But see, you work in the digital realm and you also see how people can earn extra money with that digital realm. So, if they're working one 9 to 5 and maybe they come home and work a few hours in the digital realm, what would you suggest for people, especially, well, I'm not even going to say younger because everybody needs this advice. What
Yeah.
would you suggest that they learn that won't drain them as much as working 80 hours when it comes to possibly learning digital things?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be um, doing something that it's kind of like it's more of like a minimalist type process, right? Because I'm in the field of digital marketing, and digital marketing can be very insane. And when you get out there to try to study it, seems like a lot of people are teaching all the same things, just using different words, and they're giving you a 10 to 12 step process that's really going to cost you 100 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week.
Right.
So you really have to just kind of put on your own personal like problem solving type of hat and look at the possibilities and think, how can I make this simpler? Is this something that's right for my lifestyle? I'll give you an example, right? There's methods now that are like, hey, don't set up and don't manage a website. Use your phone, create your content, use AI, create the sales copy, put it on a Google document and attach a Stripe link, right? So now we're talking about a minimalist type of venture. And you can kind of like think like, okay, well, what other situations or what other things do I enjoy or like or I'm an expert in? Can I apply to that? So you really have to just try to like figure out something that fits into your lifestyle, fits into um, the amount of money that you have left over,
Yeah.
because businesses, it's expensive. And I'm also not going to sit here and act like, that, like it is super easy and it only takes a small amount of time. Last October, I want to say like I spent October surviving on naps the whole entire month. I was so busy, right? And it's like it just happens. November I was really feeling it. December I really paid for it. January and February I am still trying to catch up, right? So these types of things do take a toll on you. You just have to be really wise with what you already have, and also wise about your capabilities and like what you can actually do.
Yes, I totally agree with that. But you know, ain't nothing like also maybe having a little part-time job at home in your pajamas in front of the computer where you can at least, you know, I mean, sometimes you can switch that way. I just really hate that we are here, in this situation because humanity itself, when you're not happy with yourself, when you're overtired, when you're exhausted, when you're just struggling to get by, also affects your community in the fact that even when you're going out to the grocery, you're snapping at somebody. You're snapping at somebody on the road. You're snapping at somebody at the grocery line. You're snapping because you're just damn tired. And I think that we are seeing a lot of that. Walterine says working 80 hours a week means nothing if you do not have self-control and a strong financial management plan. Oh, that's a good one for you, Minister Connie.
Yes, it
Let's talk about
is.
that. Let's
Yes,
talk about that.
yes. In my book called Lord, I Hear You, I talk about finance because I was once homeless, and I had to move into an abandoned home. And so the first thing I did, I asked the Lord to teach me how to manage my money. And the first thing I did was, Lord, let me start tithing. Tithing is very important. People leave that out. The Lord will make, I'm telling you, miracles when you are a tither and you give an offering, because you're sowing seeds into a ground, and that harvest is going to come up because everything is about seed time and harvest. So therefore, you know first thing I do when I was at that point, start where I was at. I tied $20 every pay. That's all I could afford. I really couldn't afford that, but I did it, and I was consistent. And then the thing is that I tithe, I sowed, I save, and I spend. All my bills and anything I wanted to do was the last thing. I set myself to save, even if it was $20. I put away $20 per pay. So sometimes just having wisdom and not even some people don't like to hear budget, but live within your means. You can go out and have a $100 meal every time you get paid. You know, learn to set things in motion in the right way. But first, pay yourself. Before you pay any of your bills, you pay yourself. And I've done that, and I tell you, many years later. Now, you know, small beginnings, there's nothing wrong with small beginnings. You just take that little and make it much, because the Lord will help you with that. But now I have like portfolios that are really, really comfortable. Yes, I am self employed. But one of the things I want to say is problem solving is a great way to make money. So
We lost her, but I know what she was getting ready to say.
She's correct. When you
Problem
have a solution to
solving
problems, you can
is
make
going
money
to
from
help.
that.
There you go. Finish it up, Yolanda. Finish it up. Round it up.
You should make a business out of solving people's problems. So if you know that somebody needs, for instance, their dog walked, you open up a dog walking business. Boom, you got money right there. If you know somebody needs their resumes done, boom, open up a resume business. Anytime you are able to solve a person's problem, you solved your money problem. Bottom line.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I truly believe that. Listen, this is a really good topic. Listen, I know I didn't ask you, family, out in family. I know some of you have actually answered, but have at one time you worked at least 2 jobs. Big Mac said he did for 3 years in a row that he did that. But now, Big Mac, my second question was to you is, how did you feel mentally with that working 2 jobs at a time? Okay. I'd like to know that. For 3 years, that's quite a long time. Let's check out another video and get back into the conversation.
To work 2 jobs most of my life. But that's not really odd for my family. My dad also worked 2 jobs. He's a bus driver and used to work it out his own. My mom has worked 2 jobs where she would get off the work from the bank and then go to a place where I help young women in the facility. My grandfather worked at the paper mill and then started a side business as a lawnmower company doing yards, which my dad and my uncle also worked at. My uncle also had 2 jobs where he worked for years at Tom Thumb, part-time as a bagger when he was a teacher. This is my lived experience. Most of us have had to work 2 jobs. My dad said that the goal is to make enough at one job so you don't have to work 2. Now, I remember when I thought I had actually made it. I was working at Dean Foods making $80,000 a year and thought I was good. Then I ended up falling off of a bus and needing a second shoulder surgery on my right arm. These 2 surgeries, I had to hit my out-of-pocket maximum, which was about $5,000, which I didn't have. So I started working at Topgolf in order to make the ends meet and get my surgeries paid. So the reality is most of us have had to work 2 jobs because one is just not enough to make it, nor do we have enough money put back for emergencies. Like most of the people when I was waiting tables worked 2 jobs as well. At what point do you get to the point where you make enough income where you don't need a second job?
Wow. I remember a young lady at my job, one of my first insurance jobs I had, she said she saw me working 2 jobs. And remember, I was working 2 jobs because I like money, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to save money on the side. And she said, girl, why don't you just get you one job and, that makes enough, makes enough. That's it. So you don't have to work 2 jobs. But even if when I got that one job that made a lot of money, I still was working 2 jobs. And I realized something, Lala. It was because I didn't have a family. It was just me. And that's how I filled up my time. When my son was born, girl, I was so happy when corporate fired me because I never went to corporate. This is my 18th year not being in corporate. After corporate fired me, I never went back. I went back to school, got my, finished up my degree, and then became an entrepreneur since then. I did teach a little bit. I was a teacher for a second there, but I didn't like the system. But I became an entrepreneur after that. And that was that. That was that. And let me tell you something. Money is nothing but energy.
Yeah.
That is it. Money is energy. What you put into money, how you see money, how you feel money will come back to you in a form of energy. Bottom line.
And that's true. That's true. But that also kind of leads a little bit into my next question. And I'm going to ask you this, Micah. Are people budgeting wrong or is the system broken?
This is actually a multi-layered question. It's a multi-layered answer.
Speak on it, sister. Speak on it.
Because the truth of the matter is, when you work a job, what they tell you that you get paid is not actually what you get paid. And a lot of people do not sit down to actually understand their own personal economics. Now, me being in AI, right, I highly recommend that you use AI if you're working a job to find out what your real wage is. Then for those of you that have second jobs, you also need to use AI to find out what your real wage is for your second job. Because a lot of people work 2 jobs and still actually have no money. So then from there, you need to actually find out, is this actually worth it? Because a lot of times you'll work a second job, come out with nothing, and then you realize like it's not even worth my time. I have no profit out of this. Maybe I need to quit. And this even happened with my little sister, right? Maybe I need to quit because I could make better use of my availability to something else that helps me to be in a better situation than what this is. That's one of the things, right? We don't listen to financial planners enough, like real financial planners, right? Because it looks like you can't come out of debt, but there's actually like certain people that you can listen to. There's certain things that you can do if you really sat down. I mean, if you look at your bank account, a lot of us probably have 100 or more transactions going on, in a 2-week period. So that means you have more opportunities for money going out that you're not paying for, especially if you're paying for conveniences on repeat, right? Then you actually have paychecks that are coming in. So more opportunities going out than is coming in is it's going to be financially devastating.
Mhm.
So those are just, two things to actually really look at. You probably can't come out of debt like a whole lot easier if you were looking at things properly.
Mm.
Somebody asked, why do you need a financial planner? Because people don't understand money. They don't understand how money works. That's why you need a financial planner. I mean, hello. Back in my day, okay, because I'm a seasoned woman. But back in my day, we had financial planning in our high school. They taught us how to budget. They taught us how to, check and balance our checkbooks, and they taught us how to run our household. We actually had a class on that. I don't see classes on that anymore with kids, and they are in a whole different type of financial situation in this day and age. Okay, because now they're making way less money than the rent. Okay, they can't even pay the rent because they don't make enough money to pay the rent. So yes, that's why a financial planner is needed, because kids need to learn how money works. Bottom line.
It was called home economics. And you know what? Y'all send up your thing while we talking, light bolt right there. If you need a second income and you know how to do these things, what's wrong with creating a class for these kids and teaching them how to do this? Because I'm telling you, we're turning them out here and we're a consumer based community. Instead of doing buy, why not show them how to budget a book or even write a check? You never know when we're gonna have to return back to that. Just the fact they can learn how to write, because most kids ain't even picked up a pen, y'all. They're doing everything digital, absolutely digital.
Yeah,
So Debra said, so true, Micah. We must seek financial counseling.
yeah.
I have Joy says, I applied for UIA one year and the lady returned to the line and said, ma'am, do you know you worked 10 jobs this year? I grabbed 6 temp jobs just in case I didn't make enough. So I had backups, right? And Anonymous, of course, says Dave Ramsey is a financial planner. He only got rich off giving advice and not following the advice. And I'm Anonymous, you fight everybody, so I'm not worried about you today. You like to fight everybody. If I say the sky is blue, my bro, you going to say it's purple. I love you, though. And Debra said home economics was so good. I'm still using those skills today. And in June says some junior high and high schools offer classes on investment, but most minority children don't take advantage of them. We do fall behind a lot on that. We really do. So, Minister Connie, I'm glad you got to come back with us because you are an entrepreneur. And I would like to ask you, do you think that entrepreneurship is a better option for some people?
Not really, because everybody do not. I believe that you got to be a special type of person to be an entrepreneur. Everybody cannot be an entrepreneur. It takes a lot, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of you getting paid last and last. Sometimes you don't even get paid. So everybody gets paid, and sometimes you don't. I've been in that position. So no, I don't think everybody is, but everybody got talents and they could use that for things. One of the things I wanted to say before I got off camera is that when I bought my first home, I bought a duplex. Now you can start there. And the one side paid my mortgage.
Mhm.
And so I worked and I was able to save a lot of money. You could buy up to, I believe, and you could correct me, 4 plexes, and you could live in one and rent out the other 3 with your first home under a FHA. So therefore, start there. Start there. And that would help you a lot instead of wanting these big, beautiful houses. Yes, but it costs a lot of money to be in these big, beautiful houses. The taxes and insurance in my house is like almost $10,000 a year. That's a lot of money. So therefore, you got to really, really just sit back and say, what is the best thing for me right now? So that was my first purchase, and that was a great thing that I did. And then I went on to buy a fourplex um, that brought me in income. So just start in small beginnings. But yes, I think that people need to learn. We need to teach our own kids financial um, literacy, because it's not the school's responsibility; it's our responsibility. to educate our kids. Okay, get an education to educate them to go into business or do whatever they want to do. But we need to, put that out there for them. I'm going to teach you how to balance your account. My son, I opened up his account, him and I, at 18. He still has that account. He's in his 40s. So it's our responsibility. No, it's not the schools, it is ours.
And another thing I have to throw in here, y'all, and we haven't really mentioned it in a long time, but I'm going to mention it today. If you don't know where to start so that you can teach your kids, we actually have a website, flynubianmoney.com, where you can go and educate yourself. And how about you take this information that we give you on that website and you do sit down with your children and learn at the same time. Listen, that's quality time, that's financial time, that's learning. And listen, have yourself build something together. Maybe you start a lemonade stand together. That's financial, right? So there are ways for you to learn. If you don't know, don't cheat your kids by not allowing them to learn from somewhere. But why don't you do it together? But listen, we have some stats. Lala likes numbers. So let's check them out. The average rent in many major cities exceeds 2,000 to 3,000 per month. A lot of the times, y'all, I'm gonna hold off on that next stat, please. Especially in Los Angeles, California, that is a lot of the times a studio apartment or a one-bedroom apartment, no parking, and in a very congested area. Okay, let's go to the next stat. Inflation has driven up grocery prices, utilities, and transportation costs over the last few years. But wait, let's pull back from this stat. Let's pull back. I thought we were doing so much better, sisters. What happened to everything is looking great and make America great again, Micah? Yolanda?
Girl.
Minister Connie?
Apparently, America was great when there was slavery. So they're trying to implement that all over again.
All over again.
Actually, I'm happy you brought that up. Do it feel like they're trying to make everybody slaves now? That's what it feels like.
Yes,
they want everybody a slave to the system.
Yes.
They want you upset. They want you hurting. And they want you having the least in life. They do not want no one thriving.
No.
I agree.
They're trying to get rid of the middle class.
You are a slave. You are a slave. Everybody's a slave.
Yeah, they want to get rid of the middle class, totally. That's what they're trying to do. They don't want the
I
middle
do
class
want to throw
anymore.
into the fact, y'all, that listen, the jobs are so bad now, they stopped putting out job reports. You do know that, right? The reports were stopped because the people who have lost so many jobs, let's think about it. This is the fact of the matter, y'all. Diversity has been gone through the window. And people have lost their jobs, especially their government jobs. Who is one of the biggest proponents and working for government jobs? Black women.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's acknowledge that before we move on to this next step. Okay, what's the next step? Don't get me started. All right. Many Americans do not have $1,000 in emergency savings. And even that, y'all, is low. You heard that on that video, that lady fell and had to have an emergency surgery. $1,000 is in the wind. And then we also have another stat. The average American worker puts in over 1,700 hours per year, and that number increases significantly when juggling multiple jobs, right? Listen, Micah actually also gave us another stat in January. Just last month, y'all, not just a couple of weeks ago, less than 6,000 people were hired in the United States. I didn't say 6,000. Let it sink in, baby. That's not another zero on the bottom of that. Micah, you gave us that stat. How does that stat make you feel?
You know, other people end up having to absorb the consequences
Mm-hmm.
of that, right? So is the system broken? Some of us might say the system is broken. After me looking at the system for as long as I've been alive, I'm like, you know what? The system is working exactly how it was intended. When I was born in the 80s, a good job to my parents was $25 an hour. Now we're in 2026 and we're being told a good job is $25 an hour. There you have
Uh,
it.
oh, really? Oh,
There you have it. Right.
okay.
So
It's just staggering to me. I mean, literally, I'm speechless because we're watching it before our eyes. We obviously thought it was important enough to bring this to you where we can have conversations about that. The the real black lexicon, and then Yolanda, I'm gonna put this comment to you. Says we have got to stop thinking that just because we are black doesn't mean you are going to be left behind. Do you think that?
No. What he mean by just because we're black doesn't mean that you're going to be left behind. Well, who thinks that way? Because black people have always kind of like been behind in America. They say when America catches a cold, black people get the flu. You know what I'm saying? So we always have to freaking catch up. I don't agree with his comment at all. Mm-mm. Because we know that we are behind. We know that we always have to work hard to catch up or to play on the same level playing field as our white counterparts. So, no. Mm-mm.
I have to agree with that. You hit it right on the head. When America has a cold, baby, we have the flu. No matter of fact, worse than the flu, we have pneumonia.
We got pneumonia, exactly.
Okay, we got pneumonia.
We
Our
be needing life support, girl. We be needing life support. Seriously.
exactly, and we're watching our people suffer. Like we said, when you don't have quality of life, we're not just talking about going to the club or even spending time with your family. Quality of life means body, mind, spirit. It's more than just financial. When you are out of sync with those things, then you're out of sync with everything,
Mhm.
right? So let's check out this video and then we'll get back into this. Um, this has been a really good topic. Keep those comments coming, y'all. We're watching. Let's check this out.
Be like, all that shit that we was sold in America, you gotta get your credit score up, bro. You gotta get your credit score. Ain't no such thing as credit score down here. Ain't no such thing as three times the rent down here. Ain't no such thing as let me.
Yeah, so bro, not lying at all. You know what I mean? He is not lying. So I'm not in Thailand. I'm actually in Japan. And there's no credit score or credit check, nothing like that in Japan neither. Like if I won't go buy a car, all I gotta do is show my proof of income, all that there, pay the taxes on the car, all that, and that's it. Come up with a payment plan for it. Same thing with apartments. If you want to rent an apartment, ain't no credit check, none of that type of stuff like that. Show your proof of income. Y'all come to an agreement on, what the rent price is. You can negotiate rent prices, by the way. That is a thing. For example, like the place that I'm at right now, I got 3 rooms, 1.5 bathrooms, full-size kitchen, a dining room. I got a balcony that overlooks the bay, and this cost me about $1,250 for all that. In New Orleans, that probably would have cost me like $1,900, if not $2,000. You know what I mean? Like that's how different it is. As far as internet and stuff go, I pay $30 a month for a gig of internet. We're not even gonna talk about the differences in grocery prices. I feel like I know how to beat that dead horse. Yeah, America is getting over like drastically.
I have to agree. You are talking to an international real estate agent, okay? When I'm in Portugal, the food is better, it's cheaper. The internet is cheaper, rent is cheaper, homes are cheaper. Um, but don't say that that another country is cheap. You have to understand there is a difference. You don't want to insult the people that are there. But the fact of the matter is they put more importance on the quality of life. Let me give you a little example of what I mean by that. We're used to going to get them red M&Ms, them red drinks, them red everything in America, baby. They don't use red dye in Europe. They color with beet.
Yeah.
Simple things like that, being able to negotiate your rent on a decent sized place. That is the truth. I'm sorry, but I think America has sold you a dream that is absolutely unattainable without wearing yourself out, unless you're actually born with a silver spoon in your mouth. There is a difference between the billionaires and the so-called middle class that is going away. I do want to hit a couple of more comments while we're here. I can attest that that video, if you've not been outside of America, and I highly encourage that you try your very best to travel outside of the United States at least once, so that you can see that this is much bigger than what the United States is selling you. And there is some quality of life outside of what we're being sold. Anonymous says that's only because wages aren't keeping up with inflation. Yes, we are talking about that. Kevon says this is the fall of America. America is falling right before our eyes. Big Mac says we still need education in STEM. We do. And I think that we do need to tap into that. Walterine says, right, Lala, body, mind, spirit is what keeps us healthy. The Real Black Lexicon says, one thing is for sure about AI. If I wanted to build my own AI system, the 12 by 9 brain alone is $3 million out the gate. Well, Micah, does it cost that much to get started out the gate? You know we got an expert here who's going to check you. Okay, go ahead, Micah.
No, and actually that area of AI I'm not familiar with. Okay. So like the actual, the actual cost, can't confirm that.
Okay, we'll let you slide on that one. I'm gonna look that one up, y'all. I'm gonna check that one up, right? Big Mac said the food is so much better overseas, and the Real Black Lexicon said $3 million is not the cost of entry to learning it. Okay, gotcha. Understand quality of life over the struggle bus. Listen, ladies, we've actually had a very good conversation today, and before we wind down, I'm gonna let y'all get y'all thoughts together on what we talked about, and maybe help uplift each other and give us your final thoughts. It is Black History Month, although Black history is never just put into one month. Okay, Black history is every single day, and it's not just America, baby. Black history is world history. Don't let them tell you otherwise, or else they wouldn't be trying to steal a lot of ideas and putting their names on it. But today I'm going to tell you about one that is very interesting. Her name is Kathy Williams, a woman who allegedly posed as a man to become a soldier. Kathy Williams was born in Independence, Missouri. Know where that is? Around 1844, emerged as a remarkable figure in American history. As a daughter of a slave mother and a free father, she initially went by the name Kathy Williams before adopting the alias William Kathy. Williams holds the distinction of being the first African American woman soldier to enlist in the Army during the 19th century. Her remarkable story also places her as the sole documented Black woman to serve in the Army during that period and as a member of the renowned Buffalo Soldiers in the heart of America. Listen, know her name. Go ahead and learn that story. Black history is world history. I'm going to start with you, Minister Connie. What is your final thoughts today? And please tell us where we can find you.
You can find me at ConnieSpearman.com. Also, get my book, Lord, I Hear You. It has a lot of great things in there about finance, about life, about starting from small beginnings. Also, my thought on today is that, yes, it's very hard. And the gentleman that said something about how we talk about being behind. Even when we came out of slavery, they were redlining. They wouldn't give us loans. They would not. The ghettos came about because of white flight. They left the city and then we moved in because that's the area of they moved to the suburbs and we were in the city. We couldn't get loans and things like that. How do I know? Because my family talked about it for many years about how we was redlined and how we were shut out of things. So therefore, learn history before you start talking about things that we're behind. Yes, now we have the freedom. Take that freedom, use it, educate yourself, educate your children, create a business for your children to work in. So that's my thought on that. And learn how to manage your money. That's another thing, too. That is, without working two jobs, because our children need us. I said I had to stop everything and concentrate on my son when he was 16 years old because I was wrong. I should not let him be the adult in the home. You know, even though I was a single parent, and I did not have enough to make ends meet, but he was more important than working the job and not having me there as a parent. So that's what I wanted to say.
Where can we find you, Minister Connie?
ConnieSpearman.com.
There you go. Made it simple. Listen, go buy her book. All right? Go buy her book. Support us, support someone else in your community, but make sure to get her book because it is very uplifting. Micah, what is your final thought and where can we find you?
Yeah, my final thoughts on this is that taking on a second job might not be the best thing for you. During this time, because we are in a time of war, right? I would highly suggest to make the wisest economic decisions that you possibly can. Prioritize your physical health and also prioritize your mental health. And for those of you that want to learn AI, learn a couple of skills that might help you supplement your income, go ahead and join me over at www.aiempiresociety.com. You can try to school out 7 days for free right now. So absolutely no risk to you. Just come in. I'll send you a message right away and say hi and let me know where you want to get started.
Listen, I'm a part of the community. And I absolutely love it. Listen, when I say I love it, I love it. I love it. And why not learn from the best loves? Make sure that you go on over there and get some of Micah, right? Because that is a great community. Yolanda, what is your final thoughts and where can we find you, love? Can't hear you. She done muted herself again.
Producer! Good Lord, man. Okay, because when I was okay, anywho, my final thought is this. There was a time when my relationship with money was messed up. Okay, I just didn't have any. All right. When I changed my attitude about money, my relationship with money changed. Okay. Money is nothing but energy. That's it. It's what you're attracting, it's how you're keeping it. It's a relationship. All right. So I used to think money was the root of all evil. It is not. It's how you utilize money. Don't let money use you. You use money as a tool. Anywho, you can find me at mwhitney.com. I'm an insurance broker. If any of you need insurance for any purpose, even for your pinky toe, hit me up. I got you. I can insure you.
My pinky toe wiggles every time that she says that. It wiggles because I want to make sure that it's still there. But listen, if Marye Carey and all them can, insure their voices and whatever, what makes you think that that's not important? Listen, my husband's a piano player, a guitarist, baby. If anything happens to them hands, that is an issue. And you can insure those things. So, but not only that, we tease about that, but actually insurance is for the living. Make sure that you go and speak to Yolanda. And I'm telling y'all, you're going to have a good time talking to Yolanda anyway. So just go on and give her a call. Yes.
It is Insure Your Love Month. Okay, it's all about life insurance. Insure people that you love. Make sure that you put a life insurance policy on them. All right, so they can take care of you in death as they do in life.
Yes, I agree. I very much agree. Listen, here's my take. I don't know what the answer is right now because a lot of these things are out of our control. The cost of inflation is a real thing. We talk about it like it's some magical unicorn, but in fact, it is a real thing when it comes to taking care of your family. But what I do know, you need to balance yourself. You need to have some type of life balance and love balance in your life, or else what are we here for? We were not just born to be put here to work to death and not enjoy life and be able to live in your life purpose. So whatever you do, Make sure that you're putting something into your life purpose, because that's where you shine. Not only will you help yourself, but you will also help others. Now, if that's a part of something that you want to do and part of your life purpose is getting the hell up out of the United States of America, and you're just not exactly sure how to do that, go on over to my webpage. It's laurakey.net. I have information about moving abroad. I also, guys, have a really big and thorough budget planner that's for free. We're talking about being able to manage your money. Go there and download it for free. Happy to help. Listen, working 2 full-time jobs just to survive, that's not a long-term plan. People are tired. Families are stretched thin, and too many households are one emergency away from being in trouble. We can't just work harder. We have to move smarter. And that means learning how money works, building skills that increase income, and creating options beyond just a paycheck. So thank you, Queens, for showing up and having this powerful conversation with me. And thank you to everyone watching. We absolutely love you. We've had a good conversation today, not just here on the panel. We've had great conversations with you there in the viewership. So we appreciate you, family, because we know that without you, that we will not have a show. And if you miss any shows, don't forget that we are actually on Spotify, and you can just go to Spotify and look for Fly Nubian Money, and you will be able to find us there. But if you don't want to miss a show and you want to be reminded, because you know you like to hear us, all you got to do is text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948, and you will be notified 30 minutes before we go live. So you can go ahead and tune in. Listen, y'all, it's Friday, and I wish you nothing. La wishes you nothing but so many blessings that you can't hold them all. Now go be a blessing to someone else. We'll see you on Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace out. Bye.
Amen.
2 full-time jobs hits an all-time high. So much for that American dream. That shit is evaporating. And this tweet really resonated with me. There is really no benefit to working anymore. You're not growing or becoming successful, just working to pay bills, rent, and food for energy to get you through the next miserable week. Given the state of America, more people are working 2 jobs than ever before, and these people have the audacity to ask, why aren't you guys having kids? Like, who the fuck would want to bring a kid into this situation knowing they're just gonna have to work to live instead of living to work? Like, they clearly don't understand how much stress and anxiety the average American goes through with this money issue. If missing 1 or 2 checks will make you homeless, it's just like the stress and anxiety levels are always at an all-time high. If you get sick, that means you might be able to lose some money, and now nobody has any fucking insurance to go to the doctor, so you'd have to pay more. It's just, they have killed the American dream. All people do now in America is work or hustle, and it's just fucking exhausting.